In a world flooded with notifications, messages, and cheap words, sometimes what we miss the most is silence. This video isn't about strategies to make someone stay, nor does it teach you how to get her back. It's a journey from absence to realization, from silence to awakening. It's when a man no longer tries to prove himself, no longer needs to be right. He simply chooses to step back, not to disappear, but to become clearer. And that space, if it once carried true presence, becomes a louder reminder than any spoken word. I was here, and I still am, within you. 1. When he's gone, silence becomes a confession. There was nothing special about a small town in Texas. A few dirt roads, some family diners, and an old gas station that always played country music on the radio. There, people lived slowly, loved deeply, and were used to parting ways like the wind changing direction. He, a Marine, left on an early summer day. No tearful hugs, no romantic promises. Just a nod, a deep look, and a short sentence. I'll be back. Stay strong. At first, the young woman felt relieved. No more waiting for nightly texts. No more having to explain why she was busy. No more pressure from a love that felt too real in a world too fast. She went out with friends, posted pictures online, smiled at new flirty messages, as if life was moving along just fine. But then weeks passed, then months, and the silence, which once felt like a pause, gradually became a void. He still sent a few lines, brief, calm. Still good. I'm in San Diego. Training's tough, but I'm doing well. Reading the Bible more, feeling at peace. No questions like, do you miss me? No complaints that she didn't reply quickly. No sulking, no control. Just a presence, steady and quiet, through a few sparse words, enough not to forget, yet never fully understood. And that's exactly what made her start to miss him. Not the kind of missing that comes from lack of conversation, but a strange kind of longing, as if she missed a part of herself that had been awakened when she was with him. She realized, among all the men trying to make her laugh, texting her non-stop, checking in obsessively, none made her heart slow down the way he once did. No one else made her feel safe, even in his absence. One rainy October afternoon, she sat in her old car, listening to the song they used to sing together, Tennessee Whiskey. And for the first time, she cried, not out of weakness, but because she finally understood she had lost something no one else could replace. Philosophy. There are men who don't need to be around every day to be remembered. They leave a mark, not with words, but with their character. Not through constant presence, but with the depth of their absence. In today's world, where notifications never stop and attention has become a commodity, the silence of a true man is the loudest voice. He doesn't demand affection, he just steps back in silence and lets the world decide whether or not he's worth remembering. Such a man doesn't create longing with strategy. He lets his absence be the most honest testimony of his value. Questions for you. Has someone ever made you miss them, not because of what they did, but simply because they were no longer there? And if you're the one stepping back, does your silence leave behind anything more than just a void? 2. When she starts asking, what did he really bring into my life? New York, the city of lights, fast-paced living and fleeting encounters. People date through apps, judge each other by a few photos, a short bio, and a couple of swipes. Everything happens fast and ends even faster. She, a smart, independent woman working in advertising, was used to that rhythm. Dinner dates ended with a smile, a glass of wine, and a few had a great time texts the next morning. She knew the game, and she played it well. But then there was him. Not the most handsome, not the richest, not the smoothest talker. But he had something that made her feel different. No need to act interesting, no need to hide her sensitive side. He didn't make her laugh out loud, he made her quiet. And she realized it had been a long time since she felt feminine like that. 3 months, not long, but enough to plant the seed of something real. Then he disappeared. No explanation, no goodbye, no drama, no warning. The last message was, "Busy tonight, let's talk tomorrow." And tomorrow never came. At first she didn't mind. He's probably busy. By day 3 she felt a little annoyed. Why ghost like that? By day 5 she unfollowed him on Instagram. Guess it's over. But then something strange happened. After all the self-protective steps, she didn't feel relieved. She felt empty. Not because she missed having someone to talk to, but because he was the only one who never made her try so hard to be liked. The week after, she started dating again. A lawyer, a photographer, a marketing guy. They all tried hard. They were all interesting. But after each date, she came back to a feeling of falseness. They complimented her dress, praised her sweet voice. But none looked deeply into her eyes and said, "You don't need to prove anything. Just being yourself, that's enough." And in those quiet nights in the midst of a loud city, she began to ask herself, so in the end, what did he really bring into my life? Why does his disappearance haunt me so much? Philosophy. She doesn't miss you because you are handsome, rich, or funny. She misses the feeling you left behind. She misses the way you led that made her feel she could trust you. She misses the look that made her feel like a woman, not just a profile waiting to be matched. Modern people often mistake love for staying. But sometimes, love is about creating an experience so deep that, even when we leave, the other person can't forget. Not because we were special, but because we once awakened something true in them. A man doesn't need to make a woman dependent. He just needs to remind her of what it feels like to be fully herself, unguarded, unperformed, unpainted. And his absence, if it comes at the right moment and in the right way, is no longer a void, but becomes a silence that forces her to look back on every other date and ask herself, why is no one else making me feel like me? Questions for you. Have you ever missed someone, not for what they did, but because you felt like a better version of yourself around them? And if one day that person left without a word, would you miss them? Or the best version of yourself that you became when you were with them? 3. When the ego is no longer stroked. Los Angeles, the capital of film, fashion, and phones, constantly pointed at ourselves. There, Instagram is no longer just an app. It's an identity tool. Every photo is a statement. Every like is a validation. Every scene is a tap on an ego starving for confirmation. I still matter. She, a part-time influencer, had no shortage of followers, flattering messages, or jealous comments. But there was one person, just one, who used to like every picture she posted and responded to her stories with just 3 words. Wow. So you. Not poetic, not excessive, but enough to make her feel seen. Then he went silent. No more likes, no more seen on her stories, no more interaction, no explanation, no goodbye. She started to shift her strategy. Sexier photos, sharper angles, wittier captions. She noted the times he was usually online. She posted during those hours, but still no sign of him. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. But there was something strange, as if a mirror that once reflected her had gone dark. And now she wasn't even sure what she looked like without his eyes watching her. Philosophy. Women aren't afraid of silence. They're used to it. They even learn to use it, to build anticipation, to create tension, to stay in control. But what throws them off balance is when someone once predictable, once consistently present, once silently affirming their worth every day with a like, suddenly steps back without a word. And now they no longer know who they are in that person's eyes. It's not the fear of abandonment. It's the fear of being invalidated. The ego, our sense of self, survives through reflection. We are not only who we are, but also how others see us. A man, when he chooses to stop looking, stop reacting, stop responding, breaks that reflection mechanism. And for a woman used to the spotlight, to admiring glances, or simply a timely heart, that sudden absence hits hard. It shatters her sense of control. She's no longer the center. She's no longer something special to the one who once quietly confirmed that every day. In a world where seen is an emotional signal, like is a sign of care, and stories are a subtle way of saying, "I'm doing fine, hope you're watching." A man who walks away from that role commits the most profound disruption of all. He doesn't unfollow, doesn't block. He just disappears into silence, like a director leaving the set, leaving the lead actress unsure whether to keep performing or walk off. Then the unexpected happens. She starts posting less. Not because she's sad, but because now she's no longer sure who she's performing for. Questions for you. How many times have you kept doing something, not because you truly wanted to, but because someone was watching? And if that person stopped watching, stopped responding, would you still be yourself? Another perspective. A man doesn't need to hurt someone to make an impact. He just needs to step back at the right time, when he knows his gaze had become a source of stability, and that silence alone is enough to make the other person look within, not to manipulate, but to say something profound. I have nothing to prove, and you don't need to perform anymore. If you truly want connection, step out of the spotlight and meet me in the quiet. 4. When distance creates desire. Seattle, the city of rain, strong coffee, and introspective souls. In a place where tech people are better at listening to machines than to hearts, there lived a software engineer with a predictable routine. He went to work on time, ate lunch on time, and texted his girlfriend at exactly 12:15 every day, like a Swiss watch with a heart that loves. 3 months of dating, and not a single lunch passed without a message. Eat something tasty. Don't stay hungry too long. Just fixed a bug. Feeling better now. Simple words, but consistent. Like faint sunlight bringing warmth to Seattle's endless grey drizzle. And then he stopped. Not out of anger, not due to sadness, not as a test. He simply realized one day he needed stillness. Between tangled lines of code, looming deadlines, and a flood of digital signals, his mind felt overwhelmed. So he chose to spend his lunch breaks in meditation. No phone, no Wi-Fi, just breath and the sound of rain falling steadily on the cafe's tin roof near his office. At first, she didn't notice. She thought he was busy. On the second day, she was a bit surprised. That's odd. On the third, she looked at her phone, more times than necessary. By the fifth day, she texted, "Not busy today." A question that sounded casual, caring, but was in fact a quiet confession. "I feel something missing. I miss you." Philosophy. Not every absence makes people feel your lack. But if you once showed up with real depth, then when you withdraw, the other person can't help but notice the space that once held something meaningful. The man in this story didn't withdraw to get attention. He wasn't playing silent games to make her anxious. He simply chose to return to himself. And precisely because that decision was free of strategy or expectations, it carried more weight than any deliberate, tactical distancing. We're often taught to be loved, always be present. But true love, the kind deeper than words, doesn't grow from constant presence, but from the quality of that presence. A man who sends one message a day isn't doing anything remarkable. But if each line once held genuine presence, then his absence isn't just silence, it becomes a quiet reminder. I was here, and I'm still here, within you. There's a paradox in human psychology. We don't long for what's always there. We long for what we once had and can no longer reach. Like Seattle's rain, if it rains year-round, people don't care. But one unexpected sunny day breaks through, and the whole city rushes outside, faces turned up to the sky, because rarity touches the heart. Another perspective. The man meditating at noon isn't playing hard to get. He's a symbol of what the modern woman is slowly losing. A man who knows how to retreat at the right time to return to inner balance. And when he returns, if he returns, he doesn't need to say anything. She already understands. He doesn't belong to the phone, he belongs to peace. And if I want to keep him, I must learn to be silent too. Questions for you. Have you ever been the one who made someone wait for a message? Not because you were playing games, but because you were staying with yourself. And if distance made someone miss you, are you strong enough not to rush back, but let them find you with their own heart? 5. When she starts testing you, Florida, where sunlight pours like honey over endless beaches, where people live fast and love even faster. In that warm breeze tinged with Atlantic salt, relationships often begin with a glance and end with an unanswered text. She, young, beautiful, used to attention, once had a man who chased her as if she were the only sun in his universe. But then one day, he stopped. No longer the first to text. No more hearts on her latest stories. No more checking in to see if she was sad or tired. And that's when she began to test him. She didn't call it a test, but it had all the signs. A random like on an old photo from months ago, as if she had just stumbled upon it. A sad song on her story tagged with his name, an unspoken hint. A casual message, just checking in. He read it. He saw it. He smiled, but didn't reply. Not out of coldness, but because he understood that wasn't a greeting. It was bait. Philosophy. When women feel their control slipping, they don't always get angry. They test. These tests don't stem from love, but from a deeper need to reconfirm their worth through how others react to them. And a man, if he rushes to respond, rushes to show he's still there, loses the most precious thing, his emotional power. He doesn't reply, not because he's prideful, but because he no longer needs her validation. A truly mature man doesn't let his emotions be dictated by mixed signals. He doesn't play guessing games or join emotional chess matches where the winner is the ego, not love. In a world where everyone knows seen means unspoken words, like is a soft tap on a memory, and checking in really asks, do you still care? The man who stays calm, who stays silent, is the one truly leading. Leading not by control, but by refusing to be controlled. Another perspective, a woman who starts testing you doesn't always want you back. Sometimes she just wants to know, do I still affect him? Can I still make him react like before? If you react, whether with anger, joy, or a gentle reply, you've just confirmed she's still the center. Still, but if you don't react, not out of spite, not out of contempt, but simply because you no longer need to prove anything, you've stepped out of the game. And in that moment, she's the one who must ask herself, why doesn't he need me anymore? What was I to him, really? Questions for you. How many times have you reacted just so the other person knew you still cared, even when you were exhausted? And if today you choose not to respond, not out of coldness, but out of freedom, will you feel weak or strong? 6. When she turns her back, and it says nothing about you. Late October in Chicago is a blend of chill and motion. The wind slices through buildings like invisible blades, making the entire city feel constantly rushed. People fall in love fast, leave fast, and sometimes no one looks back. That young man, a graphic designer living near the river, once loved her with a calm rarely seen in a city always in a hurry. No grand promises, no control, just quiet coffee dates, nights sitting together listening to jazz in a cozy bar in Lincoln Park, and just enough texts, not too soon, not too sparse. Then he pulled back. Not because he stopped loving, not because of mind games, but simply because he felt the need to breathe, to take a step back, to see whether this love was something he truly wanted to hold on to, Or just something he was maintaining out of fear of emptiness? He didn't say anything, and she didn't ask. 2 weeks passed. Then a mutual friend texted him. She's dating someone new now. The guy's a photographer from Wicker Park. He looked at the message, shrugged, then turned back to the unfinished design on his screen. Philosophy. Some exits don't need explanations, and some reactions, or rather the lack of reaction, are the truest reflections of one's inner worth. Because if she could replace you after just 2 weeks, then clearly you were never something deep enough, distinct enough, or hard to replace in her world. This doesn't mean you're not valuable. It simply means you were not a priority in the list of things she held dear. A wise man doesn't chase to demand fairness. He doesn't torture himself, doesn't stalk the new guy online. He doesn't post bitter captions, doesn't send one final message. He stays silent, not because he's hurt, but because he's already seen the truth. True value doesn't need defending, because it doesn't fear replacement. There's a paradox in love. We don't mourn that someone left. We mourn how easily they did. But if you're a man who knows who you are, that ease doesn't shake your confidence. It makes you grateful, because you've just avoided the wrong relationship. Another perspective, she might go to someone new, smile radiantly on her stories, receive flowers, post pictures, check in at places the two of you once sat together. And you, if you're grounded enough, won't be dragged into the whirlpool of comparison. You'll understand, I don't need to be better than the new guy. I just need the right person, the one who doesn't walk away when I stop giving them constant validation. Because true value isn't in how many new people you date after a breakup. It's in this. Do you need someone to fill your emptiness, or are you whole even when you're alone? Questions for you. If someone can leave you that easily, do you still want to hold on to them? And if your silence isn't valued, can you learn to value yourself instead of seeking validation from them? 7. When she comes back or walks away. Winter in Boston casts a quiet veil over the city. Its cobblestone streets carry memories of stories left unfinished, love born in busy moments, lost in silence, and sometimes ended without anyone saying the final word. They, a quiet couple, no drama, no spectacle, met in a creative writing class at a community college, loved each other through understanding, not through fleeting passion, and drifted apart, like someone setting aside a half-read book. No anger, no blame, just tired and unclear. No one messaged after that last meeting. No one asked, "What are we?" No need for definitions, no need for declarations. They simply stepped away from each other, as quietly as two trains parting ways at South Station. 3 months passed. On a Sunday morning, while he stood in their old cafe, reviewing a freshly printed manuscript, she walked in. No glamorous makeup, no polished charm like the first time. Just her, with softened eyes and a simple sentence. "I realized, I need someone like you." He didn't hug her, didn't say anything emotional. He simply closed the manuscript, looked straight into her eyes, and stayed silent. Because he knew someone who truly wants to stay doesn't need to be begged to. Someone who truly sees your worth won't demand you change just to fit them. Philosophy. Some breakups aren't to end things, but to give both people time to grow in silence. She didn't come back to reclaim the past. She came to start again as a different version of herself. And he, if he is a man who knows his worth, won't welcome her with eagerness, but with quiet observation. He needs to see this return is out of realization, not loneliness, out of respect, not regret. In love, those who leave and return often carry a hint of illusion. I still have the right to be awaited. But a mature woman, if she truly understands her mistake, will return without demands, but with reverence. She doesn't need to test if he still loves her, doesn't need to gauge if he's mad. She simply arrives, looks him in the eye, and speaks the truth she's held in her silent heart all winter. I don't want to be just someone who passed through your life. Another perspective. Not every return is a sign of awakening. Many come back because the new life isn't working out, because the new person doesn't understand like the old one, because of loneliness, not love. So a wise man doesn't immediately reject, but he doesn't rush to re-embrace what he once let go. He lets time prove the words, lets actions speak instead of feelings. And if she comes back but shows no real change, doesn't commit again with maturity, he won't hold on. Because if someone didn't walk away with honest feet, they'll leave again with imaginary wings. Questions for you. If the one who once left returns in silence, will you open your heart or open your eyes? Will you welcome them out of love or out of nostalgia? And if they haven't changed, do you have the strength to let go again, this time for yourself? 8. Conclusion. Absence doesn't lie, presence can be fabricated. People can smile out of politeness, reply to messages out of courtesy, maintain contact out of habit. But absence cannot be faked. It is a space that doesn't know how to lie. It doesn't say you're important, nor does it say you're meaningless. It simply remains silent. And in that silence, truth takes form. You don't need to ask, does she still love me? Do I still mean something to her? You only need to step back, not with the intent of testing, not with hope of being pulled back in, but with an inner steadiness that says, if I truly matter, my absence will be felt. If I don't, then I've lost nothing but an illusion. Absence is a simple yet ruthless test. It says nothing, but it forces the other person to listen to their own heart. A reaction, or the lack of one, is a clearer answer than 1,000 words. Someone who truly has feelings for you will feel unsteady when you withdraw, not because they miss the attention, but because they miss something that only you could bring. But someone who isn't genuine will feel relieved, as if you just opened the door for them to leave without needing to say goodbye. Philosophy. Sometimes you don't need to do anything to know who's real. You just need to stop doing everything. And then listen, not with your ears, but with how they show up or don't. Questions for you. If you stop initiating, who still stays? And if the answer is no one, is that something to mourn or a blessing revealed early?